What are your thoughts around prenups? Like, how should Latinas and Latinos in general in the community should be thinking about prenups?
And
the business partner that was your ex?
Yes.
Oh my God, I'm loving this teacher right now. You don't understand. So you get paid to be on the show?
Oh, yeah, the monies.
First of all, we're talking about Love is Blind.
Yeah, let's name it. I do. I kind of went deeper with that.
No, I love that. I love that.
Like,
and
I learned about my insecurities way later in life.
Yeah.
Who knew, you know? Can I just say, can we get rid of the word cringy, please? Okay, but what if I like videos about pimple popping and cutting toenails like I do?
I want to talk about the process of getting on the show. Like, how does that even work? What's up, mi gente? Welcome back to another episode of Banking on Cultura, where we talk about the vibrancy and complexity of our Latino culture, entrepreneurship, and of course, all the bonchinche in between. Now, our guest today, you probably have seen on TV because you were obsessed with the show that she was on, because I know I am. Like, every season, I am glued in. And I think it just was so great to see a Latina on TV in this series. So I'm really excited to have her here. And not only was she on this show, because I think people try to discredit folks when they're on TV, but she's actually pretty badass. Educated, real estate investor who is doing the damn thing, and we share the same last name. So it is my honor to welcome Nancy Rodriguez to Banking on Cultura.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to have this conversation because you're right. There's more to it than just what you see on TV.
Yes.
Because you get this much information.
Right.
So I'm excited to be here.
I actually really appreciated the way you carried yourself on the show. Because first of all, we're talking about Love is Blind.
Yeah, let's name it.
We're talking about Love is Blind.
El amor
season
es ciego.
3.
My mom says, El amor es ciego. And I'm like, girl, I don't even know if it works like that, but okay.
I love it. And what I really appreciated about it was, first of all, there aren't many Latinas on the show. On any really reality TV, unless it's like Love and Hip Hop or something like that. So it was really refreshing. I was like, yes, finally, we got a Latina out there. But also just the way you carried yourself throughout the whole season, I was like, yeah, girl, you repping us right, girl. And I think the thing that I really, really appreciated the most was your vulnerability and how authentic and true to yourself you were. And we'll get into the nitty gritty of it all. But for people who don't know you, please tell them more about you.
Yeah, so my name is Nancy Rodriguez. No middle name, no extra last names. It's just straight to the point. So I'll tell you a little bit about me. What's so interesting about my experience, I was 31 at the time when I filmed the show. Never in my 20s did I think, I want to be on TV one day, right? I think as a millennial, I grew up in a very interesting part of, call it TV, right? Because I grew up with cable TV, and then later came the Redbox DVDs that you rent, and then later came streaming. And so like the idea of
oh my God, do you remember Blockbuster?
Yes. Oh my God, the VHSs and everything. I go to the $5 section or the one, and I think it was like a $1 section. So yeah, like, and I grew up in a small town, and that was like our go-to spot. If it wasn't the $5 movie theater, it was the $1 Blockbuster wall. And so my experience, I think, as a kid growing up, it was like, famous people on TV, but they're in movies. And the idea of being on a reality TV show was just never really a goal of mine. And it was never really a dream. And so fast forward when I got the opportunity to apply for Love is Blind, it was just at a point in my life where I was like, why not? I'm single. Relationships in the real world are not working out for me. So
Ditto.
Why don't we just what if this is my love story? I was like, what if this is it? We don't know. And that's the great piece of this social experiment. That's what it is, right? It's a social experiment about figuring out if you can find love blindly, right? And so I think that for me, it was just something that I wanted to take a risk on. I wanted to truly see if this was an experiment that could work for me, but not really having any hopes, because you don't know if you're going to end up with someone on in the pods. You don't know if you're going to go home day 1, day 2, or if you're going to make it all the way to the altar. So very interesting concept.
So I love that you shared that you were at a point in your life where you were like, the marketplace is just blah. Let me just try out this social experience.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in that zone right now. So listen, hit me up. I'm ready to go on the next Love is Blind.
Let me call my people.
Yeah, call your people. I'm going to call my people. Okay. Call your people. But you run, not only were you on this television show, but you also have $1 million real estate investment portfolio, which I think is amazing. You also have numerous degrees in... How do you pronounce it correctly?
Yeah. So I'll tell you a little backstory where it all started, right? So I do have a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in the field of speech and language pathology. Yes. Okay. And so that's, again, talking about like what I grew up thinking I wanted to be, wanted to do. And for me, it was like, I want to help people. And you hear that a lot with people. It's like, I just want to be a people person. I want to help others. I wasn't cut out to be a doctor. Sure was not. I tried. I was pre-med and I was like, this is not, I don't have the guts for 10 years of school plus some, if that's the case, for medical school. And I found the path of speech pathology. Actually, it was my end of my sophomore year in college. And I decided to intern for the summer at a clinic, a private clinic that was working with children on the autism spectrum. And so for me, it was one of those experiences that I just had like this light bulb go off. I'm like, if I'm going to help people, like this is how I'm going to help people. I'm going to work with children. And then I wanted to learn more about speech pathology. So that was my drive to just that same summer, I actually had to like overload my, you can only take so many classes in the summer, the way that it's kind of set up, but like whatever the max was, I was like, give me all of them. I want to get into this field. And in order for me to graduate in 4 years, I had to buckle up. Yeah. And so that was what my profession is in. I still carry my license. So I'm still a speech and language pathologist over 10 years now, which is like amazing to think about.
I love that.
Like, I'm so proud. And also like, I think tapping into real estate as well, almost 10 years. It was, I guess about 8 years I've been in the real estate game. And that has been a whole different world.
I want to get into the nitty gritty, but first... We dove right in, pero I need some monchinche. Tell us something we can't Google about Nancy Rodriguez.
Oh, something that you can't Google. Gosh, you know what? I think that when it comes to sharing myself to the world, right? Because this is a streaming service, right? I never thought that it would impact me in my personal life the way that it has. And what I mean by that is it's one thing to watch a show and kind of get an idea of who someone is. But then it's another experience to be the person on the show, then watch it again with the world. And then people to this day, because it's streaming, it's always going to be new for someone. So I think for me, something that like I have in the last few years have really kind of tried to tap into is like, where do my vulnerabilities lie and where are my areas of weakness? And I remember it was about a year after I wrapped the show and the world hadn't seen it yet. I was in therapy and I told my therapist, I was like, I don't know if I have like insecurities. And I was 32 at the time. And it was such a weird thing to say because I just felt like I was so proud of myself in so many different ways in my career, in who I was, the way I am as a daughter, as a sister. I was so proud of myself. And I asked her, I was like, how do I find out more about like my insecurities? Like, I love my body. I love who I am. Like, but there's got to be something in there that I'm like, And she just talked me through like one of the main things that came from that conversation was things that you get defensive about. Tune into those insecurities. And so then that led me to really look deeper into my vulnerabilities and like what does get me a little tense and like, a little hot and like upset about something. And so I think for me, like, I don't get to show a lot of that, even like on my social media platforms, because I do feel like there's some things that I have to keep to myself. And then there's things that I do want to share with the world. And so being that I was on the show, people get to see that and then using social media as a platform to be a Latina, to be a representation, I think it is so important to do conversations like this for people to listen. If this podcast touches one person or one person can relate, like, to me, my job is done, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like I kind of went deeper with that.
No, I love that. I love that.
Like,
and
I learned about my insecurities way later in life.
Yeah.
Who knew, you know?
That's really interesting, especially the piece that you mentioned about social media and choosing what to share, what not to share. Sometimes I struggle with that because I'm building a brand, right? I'm building a personal brand, and just understanding where we are as a society right now and as a community and what people are yearning for. Like, they're yearning for the vulnerability. They're yearning for the insecurities. They're yearning to be seen in you in some way, some form. And that requires you to be brave and courageous enough to be open to sharing the ugly stuff, right? And not always having this gorgeous facade or making it seem like everything's okay. So what is your process? How do you decide what are you going to share versus what you don't share?
Yeah, you know, I've gone through different waves. I think moving to New York, so I moved here about 2 years ago. And when I first moved to New York, I was just in a headspace where I was like willing to absorb as much information. And I think you kind of have to when you move to the city, because it's going to test you. It's going to put your patience to the test, the germs to the test, like all the things. I've never been more sick in my life than my first year in New York.
Really?
And I would wash my hands, girl. I was taking 2 showers a day in the summer. Like, I was trying to, but I just kept getting sick. I haven't actually gotten sick in a while now, which has been great. But anyway, so I think for me, it really comes from a place of what makes me happy. If I post this, is it something that makes me smile? Is it something that makes me be proud of myself, right? So, and I think the hard part is this. I'm going to pause the social media concept of it, right? Because personally, in my personal life, girl, I am as private as can be.
Really?
Like, my friends don't know what's going on until it's already happened. And I'm like, oh, by the way, this is happening or this happened. So I've always been more of a reserved person. Like, if I have accomplishments within my family, like, I'm like, oh, I did it. And it's for me. Like, I didn't really seek validation from others. And I think that comes from like my inner child, just like always just doing what was right because I wanted to do what was right. So later in life, you know, when now I have a platform and I want to inspire and I want to have conversations and share positive things, and then sometimes things that are not so positive, or when I'm feeling sad, I think that that's really important because, again, those same, call it my nieces, all the little girls in my life, you know, if they're watching my social media and they just see that I'm just happy or that's I'm just positive, a lot of me is, I think most of me is, but there are times that I do get sad. And so I think just thinking about my nieces and like what would make me proud to share, that if they saw it, it would mean maybe something to them.
Okay.
So,
okay. So that's a good rule of thumb. What would you want your family to be proud of?
Yeah, to be proud of and to see. And also, like, it can be ugly. It can be, you know, because here's the thing. I think being true or being a truly authentic, I think it can be perceived differently by different people. Some people might be like, oh my God, that's so cringy. Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, can I just say, can we get rid of the word cringy, please?
You don't like that word?
This is why I don't like it. This is why I don't like it. Because the word cringe is based on the eye of the beholder. What I think is cringe to something, someone else might be like, oh, I think that's dope. Mm-hmm. So I think like choosing the word, oh my God, so cringy, or like, you know, oh, it's cringy when they da-da-da. It's like, okay, but what if I like videos about pimple popping and cutting toenails? Like I do. I go down
oh my God, those are so addictive.
Oh, the algorithm knows me too well.
ASMR gets me all the time. Like
that's another
my feed, like my Explore page has so much food on it. I'm like, wow, this is really, you got to get it together.
Yeah. No, it can be a humbling experience for sure. Yeah.
So, okay. I want to talk about the process of getting on the show. Like, how does that even work? Like, you said you applied. So how'd you find out that applications were even open? Like, how did this come about? Listen up, Latinas. It is time to take ownership of our dinero. Because if we don't, who will? Did you know that only 45% of Latinas have a savings account? And 83% of Hispanic millennials have no retirement savings whatsoever? Damn! And what's even more alarming, hermanas, is that even though we're the second largest ethnic group in the United States, there's a $200 billion lending gap between Latino-owned businesses and their white counterparts. This is why Fortuna Latina exists, a free program designed to help Latinas build wealth, manage money, and secure their financial independence. This is about controlling your future and letting go of your money trauma. Mi gente, the wealth gap isn't shrinking, it is growing. And unless we take control of our finances right now, we risk passing down struggle instead of security. So don't hesitate, hermana. Join Cultura Latina, the only financial literacy program designed specifically by Latinas for Latinas. Get access to expert mentorship, an amazing community, and the tools that you need to thrive. Your financial independence begins right now. Join the movement today at fortunalatina.net.
So there are different processes, I think, depending on the network. So our specific, the specific company, production company that films Love is Blind, and they also do 90 Day Fiance, Married at First Sight. Okay. So those love shows, they're from the same production company. And what they did is they just posted an Instagram post, literally just like casting, and it said the city that it was casting in the show. So it was Love is Blind, Dallas. And what happened in my case is that before social media, by the way, and having a platform, I had like 700 followers. Okay. Like I was like posting my food and like my new shoes if I got something cool or like random things that I would cook. So I was not like influencing or content creating. I was just posting what I wanted, using social media as like an album for my life, for me and my family, my 700 followers. So my best friend, I was in Cancun that weekend for a girls' trip. And
this was after you applied? Or
this was when I was going to apply.
Okay, got it.
So she DMs me the link. She's like, or the post. She's like, hey, they're casting, you're single, you should apply for Love is Blind. And she's a huge reality TV, like, I guess, a follower of things. So she loves The Bachelor and all those awesome shows. And so I was like, girl, I don't know, we'll see. I do love Love is Blind though. Like I watched season 1 at the time, that was the only one available. And I really, really liked the concept because I think the idea of being judged for what we look like personally has been my experience. I look a certain way, I'm perceived a certain way, whether it's my curves or my hair or the way that I carry myself. Like I just feel like the opportunity to do a social experiment like Love is Blind was right up my alley. And so yeah, once I applied, it's literally just answering, I don't know, maybe like a 40-minute questionnaire and questions. But the thing about it is when I was abroad, the Wi-Fi kept going out.
Oh, that's annoying.
So I submitted the first application and it crashed. It was like, whatever. I was like, oh my God, I just had 40 minutes. What the heck? So then I was like, you know what? I'm going to go have a good time. Maybe if I get some downtime, I'll try again. So I tried, I think it was 3 times total. By the 3rd time, I finally submitted it and it went through.
What are some of the questions they asked?
Oh my gosh, it's so intense. Can I tell you, before Love is Blind, I was never considered therapy, never considered going to therapy or counseling or any kind of, because I had the perception that like something was wrong. If I go to therapy, something is wrong.
Like many folks in the Latino community.
In our community, exactly. I remember when I first told my mom, I'm in therapy. She's like, are you okay? Like, is everything okay? Was something wrong? And so even then, like later on in life, the stigma was still in my family. And so sure enough, some of the questions on the application were deeper than what I was expecting.
Like what?
So it was like, tell me 3 ways to describe yourself. If your friends had to say 3 things about you, what would they be? What are your biggest qualities that you are afraid to or like just really deeply into yourself and who you are. But they still keep it kind of light on the first round, okay? They take it easy on you. So there's like some questions that get a little deep that you're just like, oh, I really got to think about this, right? So then I get a call that they want to do a second follow-up. And then that was the 200 question, like, form, and it had everything, describe your perfect day, what would you do if, like all these scenario questions. And again, it really tapped into how do I really feel about finances in my relationship? How do I feel about if somebody wasn't physically like who I thought? So like it really kind of mentally primed you for what the experience could be. Because once you get in them pods, girl, you just don't know what you're going to get.
Right.
So for me, I think the reason why I bring up therapy is because for the first time in my life as a 31-year-old, I felt like I was asking myself questions that I've never been asked before. Like, what do I think are my greatest qualities that I can bring to a friendship? And then it's that. But then the next question is like, what about to a relationship? And then you have that. So then I'm like, ooh, am I like a friend like this? Am I in a relationship like that? And so it just really got me mentally ready that if I hadn't been chosen to be on the final cast, I would have felt good about the application process. So I really personally enjoyed my process. I think it's a little different for different people. I don't know how they cast other castmates, but that was my experience.
Okay, so it's first application.
Yeah.
Kind of, that one is like just the first rodeo.
Yeah.
Then they call you and you have another application.
Yes.
And then what happens after that?
And then they have a recorded interview. So they're like, okay, we're going to need you for this time. Like, you know, we want to ask you questions, and they're going to do a demo tape for the casting directors and people. I don't know their titles, but the people who make the final call.
Okay.
And so I was like, all right, cool. Like, I've never been in front of camera like that, I guess, but like, I'll do it, you know, because I think they want to just see how comfortable you are, I guess. I don't know. And girl, why was I was being myself, but then the guy said something, the guy who was interviewing me said something, and I was like, I don't know how we got to it, but I ended up singing one of my favorite Selena songs in my interview tape. And I was like, I didn't care. I was just like, I was feeling myself. And I think it was, I want to say it was Como la Flor or something.
Oh, wow.
Because
Okay.
he was like, if you had the chance to sing to your husband or something, he was like playing it up. He did good. He did real good on my casting interview. And I was just like, I would be like, Como la Flor. And then I just like went on. And then I think after that, after that, I got the final call. I got the final call days before they flew us out. So we waited for months. It was about a 6-month process for me to get casted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Did they tell you, okay, these are the dates that we're going to be filming, like hold these dates just in case we get back to you?
Pretty much.
Okay,
They're
got
like,
it.
hey, just so you know, start telling your job. At the time, I didn't have a full-time job because I had already left my 9-to-5 about six to 7 months before.
To do real estate.
To do real estate full-time. So I was like, all right, y'all just tell me when, and like, I'm good to go. I was actually in an active real estate project, and so I did have to tell my business partner, like, hey, I'm doing this thing. I might get pulled. So, like, we'll see what happens. And
the business partner that was your ex?
Yes. I wasn't going to say it, but you did. No, there's no shame there. No, totally. It's my business partner who is my ex.
Okay,
yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get the call, like, we want you. So what are they, like, what is the exchange? Like, what is the benefit? How did you envision this? Like, outside of being a social experiment, like, monetarily, was there a benefit? Like, were you thinking about, like, okay, I have this real estate portfolio. This is an opportunity to, like, build up my brand. Like, what was the thought process? Or was it just, I just want to find love?
Honest answer. I wanted to find love.
Okay.
And I think that, and this is why I say that, when season 1 came out, there was, some of the cast members did get a good following, and you see millions, and you see 500,000, 600,000, but it wasn't really like a big bang. And it came out, it was released during COVID. So everybody was in a virtual mindset anyway. You know, we're streaming things, we're watching. So it was a different time when season 1 came out. So I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what would come from this. And I remember being like, look, if this is how I find my husband, this is how I'm going to find my husband. Or this is how my husband's going to find me.
Do they ask you that question? Do they say, like, why do you want to do this?
Oh, totally.
Okay.
Like, that was definitely part of it. And some of the questions are repeated over and over again because I think they just want to make sure you're not in it for clout.
Got it.
I think what happens is the people that do go on the show and, you know, they're in a relationship, then they get on the show and then they're like, oh, girlfriend comes out the woodwork, you know. It's so unfortunate because I think it really puts a bad taste in the audience's mouth of like, y'all are just here for clout.
But it
Y'all
helps with ratings, though.
True.
The drama.
True. There's gotta be a mix, right?
There's gotta be something going on.
Yeah.
Somebody gotta be shady in order to keep things, you know, interesting.
Exactly. So I do think like there are certain types of cast mates that they bring on to, but here's the thing, they could cast the funniest girl, they could cast the sexy Latina, that's me. I'm just kidding. No, but they could cast all these casts, but you don't know who's going to make it to the next round. Right. So it could be that, and this actually, I want to kind of touch on this a little bit because I think there's a misconception that, only Caucasian people make it to the end, and where are all the people of color? Or they show the initial cast and it's very diverse. Like there's 15 women and there's so many different beautiful skin tones and cultures and personalities and just a mix of beautiful women. Dallas top tier women that came from my experience of being on the show. And then it just comes down to like who actually makes an authentic match to keep moving forward. And production has nothing to do with that, because at that point you either make it or you don't. And so I think what ends up happening is I was, if I can recall correctly, unless I don't know something that I haven't been told, but I was the only Latina on our 15 cast women, the cast members
appeared that way, yes,
of our season. And then even then after that, like you see the other seasons, you see the other, they are diverse, I think, to begin with, because they do want to give the best chance for everyone. But at the end of the day, like if you're day 3, day 4, day 5 in the pods and you haven't made a connection, you got to go home.
Okay. Yeah. I want to get into that. Yeah. But first, I need to know. So do you get paid to be on the show?
Oh, yeah. The monies. So here's the thing. It depends on how far you go, right?
Okay.
So I went all the way. And there is a weekly stipend.
Okay, got it.
There is a weekly stipend. We do have blackout dates. Like after filming for so many days straight, we can't film for 1 or 2 days. And then we go back on Sunday, something like that. So there are rules and regulations that they abide by. But yes, I do get paid. It was $1,000 a week. Girl, that ain't nothing.
Well, how many weeks was it?
I think it was 13 weeks total.
Okay.
Somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm. But it ain't nothing because you're spending your whole day there, right? Or how
filming
does it work?
is like, well, here's the thing. Filming in...
Oh my God, I'm loving this Bonchiche right now. You don't understand. Yeah. I feel like we're getting a real behind the scenes of how this thing works. Okay.
Well, here's the thing. I think of the social experiment as 4 different phases. The first phase is you're in the pods. Do you make a connection? Can you vibe to actually make it to engagement?
But they pay for you to get there?
Oh, yeah, they cover everything.
Okay.
They cover everything. Like, I have no bills.
But, like, where you're living, like, do you have to live near the set? Like, how does that work?
No, they cover everything. Once they fly you out, you're on their dime.
Okay.
So to me,
they put you in a hotel.
Exactly.
And they pay for your food.
Exactly.
And everything.
Our season.
What about, like, your nails and your hair? Because you got to look cute.
I know, right? So... halfway, I think it was after. So here's all the catch, right? It's only 7 days that you have in the pods.
Only 7 days.
7 days.
Okay, got it.
To make a connection. I did get my fresh mani and pedi right before.
Right, of course.
And I'm like, okay, it's gonna last,
right.
But that's 7 days of being in the pods. If you make a connection and you keep going, you keep eliminating people as you go, because you date 15 at first, 15 guys, and then you narrow it down. So by day 7, you should know if you're going to get proposed to on day 8.
Mm-hmm. So it's up to you to get ready to film.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And are you guys all staying in the same house while filming? Because it looks that way.
It looks like it. So actually, it's a set. We're actually a movie studio, or production studio. So there was like Avengers being filmed in the next whatever space, and then Love is Blind was on this side. So it's a huge studio production.
Okay.
We were bused or vanned or carpooled to the production site from our hotels, and the guys and the girls stayed in separate areas.
Okay, got it. Because it looked like in the areas like you slept, because they got the blankies,
so cute.
They got the gold cups, you know, so it looked like that's where you guys were staying.
No, I mean, I would wake up at 5 to be in the car by like 6:37.
Oh wow!
And then we would have breakfast in our hotel, so they'd come by and do that. And so it was like.
But like, do you all? So the women are all together having breakfast? No,
in your own room.
Oh,
yeah. We had we had the whole floor.
Okay,
but like, no, girl, we were not allowed to talk or unless we were in the lounge, like. They call it, there's this word, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on it, but sequestered.
Okay.
Like you are taken away from your phone, your family, your friends.
It's like jury duty when you're on a big case.
There you go. And so, and here's the thing. There is a reason to all the things. Could I have made the same decisions if I had mommy in my ear?
Of course.
And my bestie over here? Right. Absolutely not. I probably would have left day 2 listening to my friends and my family.
Yes.
So there is a reason why they're like, look, your only full-time job right now is to find out if you can find love. That's it. And I think given that task, if you're open to it and your heart is open and your mind is open, I think that you can. I think the moment that you allow to let your insecurities or your own personal thoughts get in the way of like, oh my gosh, it's a big deal. It really is, right? So it's like, if you let that stop you, then you're going to let it stop you. And then you probably won't make a connection. You'll go home.
So 7 days in the pods.
Yep.
So you're like dating multiple people. In a day.
Yeah, a roster.
So you're like talking all day.
Yeah.
For 7 days.
And night. Because we have night dates.
Okay. And you have night dates.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. All right. So did you ever feel like I'm about to be on national, like a streaming service, but it literally is like national TV? Because I feel like you get even further with streaming service.
I know. Everyone's tapped in, right? Literally, my brother just got back from Vietnam. He met a girl in Thailand that was from Taiwan. And he was like, your sister is Nancy, isn't she? Like, in the middle of nowhere in Thailand. And he was like, yeah. And it was just, so it's forever in the world.
You international, baby.
It didn't hit. It didn't hit while I was in it. Because here's the thing. Anything, you don't know until the final edit who's cut, what happened, what the storylines are. They have over, 30,000 hours of filming from all the couples, all the pods, all the experiences. There's scenes that y'all didn't get to see.
Right.
You know, so there's 30,000 hours, and technically our relationship gets about 2 hours of footage for the entire season.
So what is production telling you, like, throughout the 7 days as you're going through the experience? Like, are they coaching you, or like, what are they saying to you?
I would call my producer my therapist.
Okay.
Going back to that. Because again, you have nobody to talk to.
Right.
So when you sit down and you do these interviews and they're like, so how are you feeling? What's going on? And you're just like, for the first time, you have someone to talk to that is not the girls. Because
who's the enemy? Because they might take your boo.
Well, you know what? Let's talk about that. Because I've never been like a catty kind of friend or girl, but I smell it and I feel it. Like when the energy and the vibes aren't there, like I don't know. You could just tell, and I know how to read the room and just be like, okay, I'ma keep an eye out. So my strategy in the women's lounge was this. I'm here to encourage, empower, and support these women. I'm not going to share my business like that with the crowd because I, one, don't want to make anyone else feel a certain type of way if we're dating the same person. And two, I don't want to be hurt either if that ends up like being my person that they're dating. So I chose to not name my top people. I chose to keep that information private. And for me, it's what works for the type of friend that I am. Now, if you want to tell me about who you're dating and you're comfortable with that, hey, I'm going to be here and I'm going to just, if it's my man, I'm going to be like, oh, inside dying. But no, actually, there was a girl, sweet girl, Kim. She thought I was dating her guy, but like I said, I wasn't chismeando who I was with. So she was like having a really hard day and I loved her. She was such good energy. And I was like, girl, I feel like today you're off. Like, what's going on? And she confronts me and she's like, I think you're dating my man. And I was like, girl, who's your man? Because again, it's like real life stuff. Right. But in like a bubble. Right. Or a pod, I guess.
Yes.
Girl.
Yeah. It's like a novela.
It's wild. And it's all unscripted. When you talked about the producers, like I think my producers did a really good job of tuning into where I was mentally and asking the questions to dig a little deeper. And just getting me to see more of what was just like happening right here. Right. So she confronts me about the guy and I'm like, girl, he didn't make it past my day one. So I'm sorry, good for you, but that is not my man. And she was like, oh my God, I thought he was dating you. Come to find out he was dating this other girl, but they ended up breaking up that day. So then she ended up staying with him. She did actually make it to day 8, which is proposal day, but he did not propose. Yeah.
Ugh, that's hard.
It was tough. That was a tough one.
That is hard. Production is telling you, like, they're letting you know, like, hey, the guy is also feeling you, like you're about to get proposed to, or?
No. Well, I actually, so I had 2 proposals. And with those 2 guys, I was just like, hey, I like you. I want to go to the next date. How do you feel? Like, it was very much so open communication.
Okay.
So they both knew that I was dating them. And it was basically up to me to decide. And so when we got to the very last day, it was just me to decide, like, who am I going to pick? So I got to go into one pod, and Andrew spoke to me about what he thought and felt. And I was like, thank you, but, like, this is not for me. And then I walked out, went into the next pod, and I got to see Bartiz and then said yes to him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So
$13,000 worth of
yes. So $13,000 worth of
monies.
Therapy.
There you go. Oh, girl. That's about half the bill. Okay. But again, it opened up so many other opportunities, because I think so much of being a Latina, especially first generation Mexican American, first generation college graduate, higher education, there's a lot of pressure that I don't think I have recognized up until the point after the show when I finally thought I was going to get this thing. I was like, oh my God, I'm actually going to be married. And then for that not to happen and be like, oh shoot, I just got knocked off my high horse type of thing. And I'm like, okay, well, how do I find my ground again? And I think that I do carry this sense of like, oh, I just got to be strong. I get it from my mom. I get it from my dad. Like, they're like, lo que pasó, pasó, mija. You know, my dad was there on my wedding day and he was so supportive. My mom was there wedding day and post-wedding day to just really like help scrape me off the ground.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and so yeah, I do think that there's this sense of like, I have to be strong. But then also like, I needed to recognize that it's okay to not feel strong in that day.
Yeah.
And so going through that experience, I would do it all over again if I knew that it would soften me up a little bit. Because sometimes I'm a little too hard and a little too cold. And I'm like, okay, girl, like, bring it back, warm it up, and just like, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to cry. Girl, I didn't know how to cry before Love is Blind.
Really?
I didn't like it. It gave me like just more like a secondary symptoms. Like I'd get really sweaty, or I like couldn't breathe, and like I just didn't have like a cathartic cry that people talk about. And it wasn't until after the show that I like worked with my therapist on how to cry and how to like literally just let it out. And I'm like, how do I control this? I'm like, you know, she's like, no, you gotta let it happen. So much more came from that.
Yeah, I love
experience.
that. Like you went into this experience looking for love, and you came out a more better woman, an involved person.
Definitely.
I love that for you.
Thank you.
So you went through the pods, and he proposed. So now you see each other. Like, were you like, oh, he's a cutie when they open the doors? He is
Girl,
cute. He is cute.
I thought he was fine. And plus,
cute.
like, okay, here's the thing. I don't date for looks. Okay, I don't know what it is inside of me. I date for personality. I don't know if you remember back then, like AOL Instant Messenger, when you'd go into a chat room and it was just vibes. I don't know how else to put it, but it was just like, who wants to chat, you know, and then you sometimes stay in the chat room or you get out of the chat room and you just go off of like pen pal situation. There was no pictures. There was nothing to like brag about. It was just like, you know, just typing away, getting to know somebody. Yes. So I grew up in an era where something like Love is Blind wasn't too far-fetched, if that makes sense.
Totally, yeah.
And so, yeah, like I saw him and I saw his heart, or like I saw his character, that personality that I felt in the pods first.
Yeah.
Was it weird to make the two blend? Yes, because I think once we got into the real world, so they give us a 5-day all-inclusive, again, everything's still on their bill, honeymoon. Pre-honeymoon, I guess. I don't know what you want to call it.
Where they go to like a resort or something.
We went to a resort.
Where'd you go? Where was
Malibu.
it? Malibu.
Yeah, Malibu.
California. Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it was still during COVID.
Oh, and that was the only open state.
Yeah,
kinda.
there was some weird stuff happening in Mexico. So the season 2 had just come back from Mexico, and so they're like, you know what? Let's just keep it local, California. Okay. And it was so beautiful. It was such a great experience. At that place that we went to, and yeah, it was. I think at that point it was oh shoot, this is getting real, because now I have this person, a fine ass,
that you gotta like be in the same room with. A very good
looking gentleman.
And be in the same room with.
Yes.
Or close.
And then you start to see people change once we get back into the real world. And, we get our phones back because after the vacation with the couples, you get your phones back. Mm-hmm. So then comes the social media stuff. Yes, then comes the scrolling of like, wait, I'm about to be married to someone who I've not known for a long time. And then all the pressure starts, and then your friends start to, not my friends, but somebody else's friends start to say like, oh, that's not the type of girl you date, and so then it's like, then things start to get a little fishy. Then you start to see people's true, like, what actually happens when you start to add all the factors back in. But again, I do believe that you can find love blindly. Yeah. But you got to be in the right headspace. You got to be in the right mindset. And it all starts from within. So I don't think that someone who goes into the show, if they're still battling with like self-love or maybe have a hard time identifying what it means and what it feels to be loved by themselves first, I think it's a lot harder to actually make the experiment work.
Yeah, I could see that. Okay, so you're in the pods for 7 days and then you get proposed to, and then what, the next day you're on a flight? Or
it was about a couple of days after. We took a little break. That's when we got our nails retouched and our whatever, I think nails and toes or something. And I was like, ooh, I'm about to see my man. Yeah. Because you see them for the first time on day 10, and then you go on vacation. So, and it's for 20 minutes. You see them for like a quick 20 minutes.
That's like during the reveal when they open the doors and stuff.
Exactly. It's like 20 minutes. And then you have a few days to go ghost. Yeah. And then you're like, all right, let's go to this vacation.
So do you guys sit on the flight together and go?
Listen up, Latinas. It is time to take ownership of our dinero. Because if we don't, who will? Did you know that only 45% of Latinas have a savings account? And 83% of Hispanic millennials have no retirement savings whatsoever? Damn! And what's even more alarming, hermanas, is that even though we're the second largest ethnic group in the United States, there is a $200 billion lending gap between Latino-owned businesses and their white counterparts. This is why Fortuna Latina exists, a free program designed to help Latinas build wealth, manage money, and secure their financial independence. This is about controlling your future and letting go of your money trauma. Mi gente, the wealth gap isn't shrinking, it is growing. And unless we take control of our finances right now, we risk passing down struggle instead of security. So don't hesitate, hermana. Join Cultura Latina, the only financial literacy program designed specifically by Latinas for Latinas. Get access to expert mentorship, an amazing community, and the tools that you need to thrive. Your financial independence begins right now. Join the movement today at fortunalatina.net.
No, it's all separate.
It's all separate.
Well, for us, we did fly back when we left California to come back to Dallas, because every season is a city. Mm-hmm. So we were based out of Dallas, and that's when we did fly together. And that's actually when we had the conversation about debt and finances, and I found out a little bit more about how much money he had in debt, what he was willing to do about it, what he was not willing to do about it. And I was like, okay, I'm getting the tea here of like, because if you think about it, if we had the opportunity to destigmatize when and where we have conversations, I get it. Some things need to be said in private, But if we just normalize, like, we're on this plane, it's a 4-hour flight, we're sitting here looking at each other, we're still getting to know each other, like, how do you feel about blank? And then we talked about it. And so we definitely tried to take advantage of every moment we had together, because we're still figuring out, yes, we made a promise to be engaged, but we still need to figure out, are you really my person that I'm going to say yes to? Neither one of us want a divorce out of this. So we knew that we had to go into it with serious, true intentions of like, if we're going to say yes, we're going to do this forever. Right. Yeah.
So, red flags.
I'm blind. I don't see it. I'm color. No, I'm just kidding. No, let me stop.
So, I assume that there were things that came up, right? That you felt like, I don't know. But like, what made you want to still move forward? Because ultimately, you said yes, right? Yeah. You went to the altar and you were like, yes, I'm with it. And he's the one who was like, no. So like, what made you push through that? Was it just like your kind, beautiful heart that you were like, I'm going to look past this. I'm going to help you with your debt, boo. I'm going to help you.
You know what? It's funny because I think what happened in the experiment is we chose in the pods to set a foundation of not talking about specific things. We didn't talk about hardcore like money. We had some money conversation, but not like full blown. So we didn't know our debt situation in the pods. The reason why, if I date you in real life, I'm going to judge you off your debt. I'm going to be like, wait a minute, why is it and how much and where do you...
Hopefully they're truthful about it.
You know, right. Hoping that that's the case. Let me see that credit report. No, I'm just kidding.
Right, exactly.
But in the real world, it's like I factor those in. And I really wanted to go into this experiment blindly. So there were things that we did not discuss in the pods, and that was finances, race, and physical traits.
And that was for production that told you guys that, or you guys decided that?
You could sit there and be like, I'm gonna describe you, I'm gonna draw you what I look like and send it to you. You could send it to the producer to give it to them. So you can do all of that. And we chose not to. We chose to go into it truly blindly. Girl, the red flags, let's talk about it. So the first one was that he was 25 and I was 31.
25?
He was 25.
Oh, wow.
But I didn't know. Remember the countdown, right? So it was day 7 when I found out that he was 25. And I was like, wait, we're supposed to get engaged tomorrow, on day 8.
Yes.
And I was like, fell off my couch, spilled my water. And I was like, you're kidding. And that was the first red flag. And he shared, he was like, that is one of my biggest insecurities, because I felt like if I talked about my age or if I told people about my age, then women wouldn't take me serious. Because how could he be 25 on this show wanting to you know? And so, so for me, I had to process that within 24 hours and be like, do I really want to go through with this experiment with someone who's 25? And if so, what does that look like? So then again, you can't call mom, you can't call papi. Like, you know, it's just you and your producer, I guess.
Right.
And that's when I was like, you know what? It's worth a shot, because the person that I have met, the personality, I am falling in love with that. I didn't even know he was 25 until yesterday. So, so that was, I think for me, one of the red flags that I just chose to put aside for the time being. And then as our relationship went on, I mean, there were things that I think we saw differently. And whether that was our views on the right to choose for a woman's body, I believe that women should have the right to choose on their own body. And he didn't at the time. I think he's retracted that statement since. But at the time, he didn't really know much about it.
Because he grown. He got some maturity in his ass.
Right. So I'm like, well, it's the progression for me.
Right.
We're here for the progression, the growth. And so yeah, I mean, there were things that I'm like, dang, like you really believe that? But look, I'm not, and I think this is my flaw, my biggest flaw of them all. I haven't said this publicly or out loud, besides to my therapist and my friends. But my biggest flaw is that I am not a good judge of character sometimes. And the reason why is because I want to see the good in people until they prove me wrong. Now, I'm a Scorpio, so the moment that you prove me wrong, bye. Ciao. Hasta luego. Like, I'll see you when I see you. I'm going to applaud from you from back there. You won't even know I'm here.
Right.
But like, I'm going to let go of that. In our relationship leading up to the end, I'm like, look, I'm not here to judge you, what you believe, what your opinions are. But if you're willing to do the work with me as in a relationship, and we can accept our differences and we can find the beauty in our differences, because we're all different as people, as friends, absolutely. You know? Totally. I think that was
you sharing that.
Yeah.
Because I'm the same way. I was just having this conversation with a friend of mine, and I was like, I just see the good in people. Like, I optimistically go into situations where I think you're telling me the truth. Because why would you lie? You don't even know me. Why would you lie? But then it's like, why would you tell me the truth? You don't know me, right? But I think about me, and I think about how I would carry myself. And so I assume that others do that. But unfortunately, you and I know we get that rude awakening, and we're like, damn. And however, I think it takes a real strong, in terms of strong, I want to say, I don't even want to use the word strong. I want to use the word peaceful. It takes a very peaceful person who is at peace with who they are and really loves themselves to see the good in other people all the time.
Yeah. Oh, I love that you give me chills.
People who are hurt and carry that misery with them, they have a very difficult time seeing the good in people. But if you are comfortable in your own skin, if you really do love yourself, it's so natural. It's so easy for you to see the good in other people. And that is a gift. it is a gift. And it took a really good friend, shout out to my health coach, Marquise, to remind me of that it is a gift. That like, don't get tainted. That's a gift that people wish they had that gift. They wish they could go into experiences where they could feel at peace and feel good about it and not go in automatically thinking like, you know, this person is out to get me. Yeah. Right? That is a gift. So that is freedom, darling, that we have. So yes, carry that with you.
Thank you. I'm holding that. I'm holding that
hold
deep.
on to that.
I'm going to rewatch this episode and be like,
girl, hold on to that. Because it's really easy to be tainted after, you know, getting hurt from believing in someone or giving someone the benefit of the doubt. Yeah. But similar to you, like you start at 100 with me and then you work yourself down. Yeah. But a lot of people usually start at 0 with others and then they work themselves up.
And then they question us. Like, what's your intent? What is your intention? I'm like, nothing.
Exactly.
My intentions are pure. Exactly. Okay, I'm just a good person.
They can't even recognize purity, honey.
Yeah.
They can't.
Yeah. And you know what though? I'm at the point in my life where it's not my job to convince you. I'm going to show up the way I show up because I'm proud of who I am.
Yes.
And whether you receive that and I see you again, even as friends or even as like people when you're trying to get to know someone and see if like it's a good match for friendship, even just that alone, like you either get it or you don't. And you either want to be surrounded and pour into me just as much as I'm going to pour into you or you don't. And
not
that's
everybody
okay
can
too.
Accept the light, honey.
Yeah.
Not everybody knows even how to embrace the light.
Yeah.
Anywho, so we know the outcome of that. We spoke about money. 25, we had the red flags. We overlooked the red flags, but we still was like, F it, let's go.
Yes.
YOLO. Go to the altar. He says no. You say yes.
Yeah.
Life after the show, you moved on. You've invested in therapy. You have evolved into this new, in-tuned woman who embraces her emotions, which I love for you because, again, that's peace. That's freedom, right? Yeah. And I wanted to get into the Talk That Talk segment and really address something taboo in the cultura. So you already mentioned, you know, how hard it is to talk about money in our culture and what that is like. But something that comes up when you're thinking about marriage are prenups. So what was that conversation like? And what are your thoughts around prenups? Like, how should Latinas and Latinos in general in the community should be thinking about prenups?
Mi gente, I've got the perfect freebie for you. So I just dropped a 17-page workbook to help you get your mind right, especially in this climate of so much uncertainty. So if you are an aspiring or current entrepreneur and you're just feeling stuck, you're not feeling too good about what the future holds, and all the turmoil, the politics, all of it is just throwing you off your game, this workbook is actually going to act as a journal for you. It covers goal setting, efficiency tips, how to manage your time, financial management tips, strategies on how to wrap your head around the next big thing that's coming down the pipeline to bring you consistent revenue in your business. It covers what you should be doubling down on in terms of your well-being, and it is just my favorite jam-packed journal full of marketing and sales strategy to help you get clarity, but most importantly, to help you secure the big bag. So make sure to tap on the link in the show notes. I've linked it there so that you guys can get really clear on the top hacks that you can put into play to set yourself up for success. I hope you love it.
Yeah, I think 2 words come to mind when I think of prenups. Again, I've never been married. I hope to be one day, but if that doesn't happen, cool. I'm okay with that too. But I think leading up to what could have been my marriage on Love is Blind, we brought up a prenup. And that was something that we had to consider on both ends. We had never considered. He had never dated someone seriously enough to want to consider marriage. I had never, same thing, been that close to wanting marriage. And so we talked about days before the wedding. And it was talking to the producers and then their lawyers and being like, okay, when can we sign a prenup? And then, so that was like the first spark of conversation. I think for me, as a whole, in my entire experience as a young adult, growing up in a Latino family, specifically like Mexican family, like we talk about money isn't even a thing. We just know daddy works, mom maybe has a job, and the bills get paid, and then that's it. But the talk about, prenups, I think has only come into my life later in my 30s. So when I think about it now, it definitely comes down to two words that I consider, and it's protection, number one. And the second word I would say is clarity, because I think too much in this society, in today's society, we're afraid to talk about things that are uncomfortable for us. And a lot of the times finances are uncomfortable. So you're telling me that you want to be dating someone, right? Let's say seriously dating, intentionally dating someone, and you don't want to have some uncomfortable conversations, but you're willing to have others. Okay. But like, let's consider all the uncomfortable conversations on the table. And I do want to take a pause in that topic, only because I want to bring it back to like, why are we embarrassed? Why are we ashamed to talk about finances? I'm not ashamed to tell you that I went on a trip and traveled the world and got to ride a camel and all these things. I bought this,
new shoes. Mm-hmm.
Proud of all those things. Why can't we be proud to talk about the clarity in our finances? And I think personally for me, and this is coming from someone who grew up in a lower class family socioeconomic status, we were poor, period. We go to food banks, and we on Christmases would go to the local church and get gifts there from that Santa Claus. Like that was what I grew up in that environment. So later in life, as I learned more about finances, and as I learned about paying my debt off and why it was important for me to have financial freedom, which is what tapped into like my real estate goals and building my portfolio for real estate, all of that came from understanding, like, why am I ashamed to talk about finances, and why am I embarrassed? And if you think about it as kids, when does embarrassment really happen? It doesn't happen at the beginning toddler stages. Everyone's just, free little baby and all and that. It's when you get into the schools and people start saying like, "Ooh, you're wearing pink," like you're a girl wearing pink or a boy wearing pink, whatever it is. Like then there comes the judgments that come in. But like if we were to really think about those hard topics as like, why is it uncomfortable for you? Like, where does that stem from? And someone who is comfortable talking about finances, lean on those people. So maybe you have a friend, or you follow a podcast, or for me, it was following a podcast because I didn't have no friends or family that were talking about finances the way that I wanted to talk about finances. So I found Uncle Dave Ramsey to help me along the way. So he helped me along the way to just kind of think about finances in a certain way. Robert Kiyosaki was another one. Rich Dad, Poor Dad was a way that I really got a chance to think more about the financial side of it and be comfortable and have clear thoughts about my personal finances, so that when I get into a relationship, there is clarity about what I'm bringing in, what I've worked hard for, and where we stand. Just like when I tell you my other things that I want to make clear when I'm dating someone, I want to have a family one day. So I want to be a mother one day. Those are my clarifications that I'm bringing to the table. And so I think if we had more of that thought of making finances clear in a relationship when you're dating someone, if someone gets uncomfy about it, that's okay. Are they willing to not be uncomfortable? And if so, that means you got to talk about it. You got to heal that wound. You got to figure out why it makes you uncomfortable. And so to me, a prenup is about protection, and most importantly about clarity and going into it so that you're in that relationship. And then that leads to your investments. That leads to what are we leaving behind for the kids. That leads to there's so many different components of a prenup besides just what money you have. Like it even covers debts as well. Even like pets. Actually, I thought pets was in a different category, but I learned that prenups, like if you guys have a pet, like who does it go to or what happens then? So yeah, I think that's where my kind of headspace is when it comes to that conversation.
Yeah. And what is your advice for how to bring up that conversation?
I think that you have to know your partner. I think number one, you have to know your partner. And maybe if you don't know your partner that well, or you're not sure if you're going to offend them, I think you just practice talking to other people, right? Whether that's a close friend, a therapist, or somebody, like really getting to the point where you feel comfortable in that thing. Because I'm not going to teach you how to cook my mom's pozole if I don't know how to cook my mom's pozole. Like, why am I going to bring it to my kitchen and be like, oh, let me teach you. Oop, I don't really know the recipe. No, like I have to learn it. I have to own it. So I think it has to start with you. You have to be in a good place where if you feel uncomfy about it, you do your homework. You start to look into like, how can I talk about it, about my stuff? Because don't be asking nobody something that you can't answer that same question to, like, so I think for me, it has to start with you knowing where you stand, how comfortable you feel about it, and the areas that you don't feel comfortable. Maybe you feel comfortable about savings, but you're not really sure about investing. So do a little bit more research so that when you bring it to your partner, I think that it does come from a place of, hey, like, this is important to me and I want to make this clear for us. And then you go off of how they're reacting, right? If you see that they're uncomfy, but they want to work on it. Or I've dated someone who was, well, I would say went on a date or two with someone who was like, oh yeah, like it's not important to me. Like I don't care about how much debt I have. And it came later on that I was like, yeah, no, this is not a good match. Like they don't even see it as a goal. They don't even see it as, so for me, I'm like, okay, that already tells me enough to, they don't even want to work on that. They don't even want to see the benefits of financial clarity and foundation. So I think starting with yourself and then being able to create that safe space of like, not that you're the expert, because are we ever the experts in anything, but then figuring out if between the two of you can't, the second thing I would say is find someone who can be the mediator. Find someone who can help guide you through those conversations, whether that's, hey, we're going to listen to a podcast. You don't have to pay for it. Listen to a free podcast on a bi-weekly basis. And you just talk about it at dinner. We're going to have our finance conversation. What did you learn? What were your takeaways from that podcast?
I love that. Yeah.
And you don't have to commit to a book. You don't have to commit. Now, that can come later. Or you pick one book, Rich Dad Poor Dad. Start with that one.
Yeah, I love that.
And then you go from there.
I love that so much. And by the way, for those of you who are listening and thinking about financial literacy and thinking about, well, I don't know how to have these conversations, or I don't even know where to start when I'm looking at my own budget or I'm looking at leaving my own debt, I actually have a program called Fortuna Latina. So if you go to fortunalatina.net, you can sign up for the program. It is a 6-month financial literacy program, absolutely free. And shout out to our corporate sponsor, which I will reveal to you guys later. But this is absolutely free for Latinas to understand budgeting, investing, IRAs, estate planning, money mindset, because that's a huge part of what keeps us stuck in terms of having or not having conversations around finances. So make sure you guys go to fortunalatina.net and check that out. So, Nancy, where are you now? Tell the people, what can they look forward to? Where can they stay in contact with you? All the things.
Yeah. So when it comes to where I'm at now in life, number one is peace. Like I am checking in, tuning into my peace. And so what I've done with my social media platform is really make it my lifestyle content. So anything from, yes, there'll be partnerships and yes, there'll be brand deals that are part of it. But also I share my life with my family. I share the things that I'm doing. And when it comes to real estate as well, I have a community page, Financy Talks. And so when it comes to being online and having a presence online, I think that the more I'm tapping into my real estate investing or tapping into the other areas like speech and language pathology, because I'm still practicing, I do share it online on my Instagram and my TikTok.
Where can they follow you? What is the name?
Yeah, the Nancy Rodriguez.
Nancy Rodriguez. The Nancy Rodriguez.
Nancy Rodriguez,
okay. Yeah. The Nancy Rodriguez is where you guys need to go. Okay, perfect. Amazing. Thank you so much. I really appreciated this conversation and you taking the time out. And I'm so excited New York City has you now because you are now officially here full time. Hopefully the city has grown on you. And I love that you're not getting sick anymore. But really appreciate you taking the time out and joining us here on Banking on Cultura and giving us the bonchinche, but also giving us the real and also reminding us how important it is for you to have the clarity, which I really love how you sum that up, and the protection around your boundaries as it relates to finances, as it relates to love, as it relates to your emotional security, whatever it is. So thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you, Mamita.
Me. Thank you.
All right, y'all. That wraps up today's episode. I hope you enjoyed that. You guys know the drill. Please leave us comments. Let us know what you thought. Make sure to subscribe. Forward this episode to a friend if you think they will find value or it would be helpful to them. And we'll see you in the next episode. Ciao.
Listen up, Latinas. It is time to take ownership of our dinero. Because if we don't, who will? Did you know that only 45% of Latinas have a savings account? And 83% of Hispanic millennials have no retirement savings whatsoever.
Damn!
And what's even more alarming, hermanas, is that even though we're the second largest ethnic group in the United States, there's a $200 billion lending gap between Latino-owned businesses and their white counterparts. This is why Fortuna Latina exists, a free program designed to help Latinas build wealth, manage money, and secure their financial independence. This is about controlling your future and letting go of your money trauma. Mi gente, the wealth gap isn't shrinking, it is growing. And unless we take control of our finances right now, we risk passing down struggle instead of security. So don't hesitate, hermana. Join Cultura Latina, the only financial literacy program designed specifically by Latinas for Latinas. Get access to expert mentorship, an amazing community, and the tools that you need to thrive. Your financial independence begins right now. Join the movement today at fortunalatina.net.
Hey guys, if you enjoyed this video, I'm pretty sure you're gonna love the next one. So make sure to click right here and tap into the next episode.